Let's take a look at using the layout curve in AutoCAD Architecture. The layout curve is probably missed by a lot of people because it's not readily available on any of the palettes that are off the main screen here. So if you go up to your home, you're not going to find the layout curves in there. At least I've never found them. So here's where they're hidden. If you go to your content catalog library and go down to your stock tools and go to parametric, layout, and anchoring tools, you'll see the all of the anchor tools. Now, the ones I'm going to focus on are just two in here. I'm going to focus on the layout curve and the anchor object. Now, if these interest you after watching this, come back and take a look at all these other options. At least the 2D ones are pretty useful for laying out. Particularly what I'm going to show here is electrical. Okay, so now in our electrical kit, if you go here to the standard 3D and scroll all the way here, let's see, somewhere in here, what's this, page 12, I guess, you'll see we have the same tool, but we tweaked it a little bit, just improved functionality. And then we created one to help people copy their electrical symbols, which is the one that's stock, but we just modified it a little bit. And then we set up one to help you rotate the symbols if that's ever a requirement. So I don't need this up right now because I have the whole electrical palette, the 3D one, on the side screen here. So I will just scroll down to where those tools are. Let's see, right here. Okay, and then on my screen I have an actual project I recently worked on for another architect, and this architect needed me to do the electrical work. So I'm just showing this one area. I don't need to show the entire project, but I thought these two areas were good examples of when the layout curve is really useful with using recessed ceiling cans. So here, in this one area that I'm zooming into, there's a need for a set of recessed cams down this hallway in a kitchenette area. And what I want to do is I want the center line to be centered on this doorway, and then also centered on these two other doorways. So I want my first symbol here, and then a set of cans along here, and laid out as evenly as possible within the limitations of the framing, of course. And then over here in the kitchen area, there is a soffit area, so I want some ceiling cans around there. And then we'll just take a look at a fun one here where I just put a spline object in to show you how layout curves can be, they're not limited to just straight lines. Let's take a look at this area first. This is a very simple scenario where you want a set of ceiling cans. So the first thing I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll convert this line. So this is a regular AutoCAD line, and I drew it on a layer where I intend to print that line, and I want it as a center line because I want that to be clear to the contractor that this is the center line of the objects, but it's also what it's centered on. This will be centered on this particular door. The first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to convert this. So you see down here it says layout curve add. That's the command you could type in if you want to type it. And I'll go ahead and pick down that. So when you use our tool, it automatically puts in 4 nodes, which are very easy to adjust. So you just pick on the nodes, and then you can, on your properties palette, you can go ahead and modify this by 3 different means. So in here, you can do manual, you can do space evenly, and you can do a repeat. So you can tinker with those. I don't need to get into the depth of those options, but in a scenario like this, it would be very common for me to just come in and say I want 6 fixtures, and then you see you have some symbols here. So this one here is the offset symbol. A minus is remove a node, and a plus is to add a node. Pretty simple stuff. Now be aware that the layout curve is dependent on the original object. So if I decide I don't want that center line and I delete it, boom, they all go, and whatever is attached to them would also go. So these two are connected. Now the next thing I would do is I would go up and I would get a fixture. So we have a common recessed ceiling can right here. And I'm going to pop that in. And now I'll scroll back down. And I want to put this on each of these nodes. So I'll just go ahead and use the little tool we created. I'll pick the symbol, and I'll pick any of these nodes will do. I'll just pick there, and it boom pops them all in. And they're all anchored. So if I make modifications, I go ahead and grab that line and I move that line out here. They all come with. So very useful. It's kind of like an array, but with extra flexibility within the array, because I can easily come in here, grab these, and get rid of one of these. Boom, and it'll just remodify. Or likewise, I can add one. When you add, sometimes, or I think every time, you don't automatically get the symbol. It doesn't know that that's what you want in the added one. So you can just copy. Don't copy this one down here. This is a free-floating one. But if you're working with layout curves, any of the objects that are already anchored in the curve can then be copied along that curve. So I can grab any one of these and just get it near, and just like that, and then it automatically knows to anchor into the next node position. Now in this particular scenario, I would like for the contractor to see that this center line is centered in this door. So graphically, I want this to come out like that, and I'll probably put in a little CL symbol. But that messed up my whole lineup of lights. I don't want the lights to do this. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab that last node, and I'm going to just drag that back and do the offset to here like that. So the line work does what it needs to do, and the layout curve does what it needs to do. Let's see if there's anything else that I need to take a look at. When you have anchored something like an MvBlock, you can go ahead and pick on that anchored object, right-click, and you're going to see that it now has the offering of node anchor. So meaning that that object, now it doesn't have to be an MvBlock, it could be like a column, or it could even be a stair, or we have light fixtures and trees and things like that. It could be any of those things. But once it's anchored, it knows now here on the context menu that it is an anchored object, so you will see unique options in here. For example, release to take it out of there, and rotate. That's a good one to know. Let's see, what else should we take a look at? I think that's good for this example. So let's move over here. In this soffit area, I drew the lines that I want, expecting to put in the cells, or these, putting in the layout curves. So these are 4 separate lines. It's not a continuous rectangle. And then I will just go ahead and repeat the work that I did before. I'm going to convert this, and I think I just hit enter, and then enter, and enter, and I'll just get that. Okay. Now be aware that this did a redundancy on the end cells here, so these overlap. And I do actually want that for the spacing, but I don't want that for the anchored objects. I don't want a redundancy of objects in there. For one reason, it'll just mess up my schedule with a redundancy of count. So I just keep that in mind, that I don't want redundancy in there, and we'll take a look at that. So let's maybe take these guys and make those, let's say, 6. All right. Let's also turn this thing into, while we're here, let's go ahead and convert that. All right, and 4 looks pretty good for that island. All right, and then I have this symbol down here. I could use it, or I can even use this one here. I'll get rid of that now. I don't really need that anymore. So let's place the same fixture into these. So I'll just go ahead and do the copy. And I want this, and I want it here. And boom. And let's do it again. I want this, and I want it up here. And a couple more times here. I want this, and I want it here. All right, and then this copy again. All right. Now, this is the tool that we sort of set up, but if you look at the command line, you can see that it is here. It's just a node anchor, and then it's so you can type in. I believe you can just type in anchor, and then N for node, and then there. See how it says copy to each? That's all that's happening. Here's nothing very special. And speaking of that, let's take a look Actually, let's not jump ahead here. I wound up doing redundant fixtures here. Remember, I mentioned that, so I'm going to get rid of that. One of these needs to go in each of the corners. All right, and that, and this. Okay, so that's good. And so that's the same kind of work. You do a lot of that in electrical layouts. But I just love the fact that I can come in here and then I can decide, oh, I want 5 now. And then I'll just go ahead, of course, and just copy this over. And I can be sloppy about the copying, boom, and it pops in like that. So let's take a look at this last one. So if that's an island, what I would do is find, let's see, some kind of a pendant. We have lots of different pendants. I'll pick this one here. And again, I'm going to drop that off in space. And then I will go ahead and, hey, let's do something interesting here. Let's do an anchor. And let's do a node. Okay, and what I'm going to do is do just an A for attach. And I'm going to attach one of these to this one. Now I'm going to repeat those steps, A for attach, and I'm going to attach this one to here. And the point of doing this is to show you can actually have different electrical fixtures along one layout curve just by doing individual attachments. Instead of doing the one before, with this tool set up, we'll copy them all. Oh, and I lost this one because I wound up anchoring that over. But let's pop that back in. Let's see here. Okay, so yeah, so now I could just copy this, and it'll just drop in, and I'll just copy that up if I want to. Okay, so you know, this isn't a crazy scenario where there's just one that's recessed and these are pendants. But just to demonstrate some of the capability, before I fix this little thing down here, since this is a spline, you can see now I can adjust the spline, and these fixtures will just do what they need to do along that curve. So I really like these layout curves for electrical. Now for the last thing to talk about here is occasionally when you use these layout curves, the objects that you're anchoring will rotate either 90, then you're lucky, or some weird angle like this. So what you need to do is you need to know about the way to rotate that. And I kind of hinted at that before. So if I pick this symbol, right click, and I go to node anchor here, and I can see that I have a set rotation. You see down on the command line, it asks for rotation in X, no. Rotation in Y, no. Rotation in Z. However, the problem is I don't know what angle that is. I can kind of guess that it's maybe about 20 degrees, and I was off, right? So why waste a lot of time? I'll show you a little trick here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just draw a line out like this and come back like that. So that gives me my angle. Okay, and so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick that symbol again. I'm going to go to set rotation. No X, no Y, I want Z. So down on Z I'm going to type in apostrophe cal. So this is a transparent command, and cal is the geometric calculator. Then I'm going to go ahead and type in angle, and I'm going to type in, let's see, intersection, end parentheses. And I'm going to snap here, and yes, and I'm going to snap here, yes, and I'm going to snap there, and that fixes the symbol. So that's a little trick that goes way back into the early days of AutoCAD. And there are other ways to figure out what that angle is. If I go down to the properties palette and take a look, bring up the anchor information, turn that to become 23.57 degrees to fix that little symbol. And I think that pretty much covers it. If we take a look at this in 3D, let's take a look here, rotate it up. So our fixtures were all designed to default to 8-foot ceiling height, so you'll see that they are all popping up automatically to the 8-foot height, but all this line work is sitting on the ground plane. And yes, this is an AutoCAD drawing, not a AutoCAD Architecture drawing, but I use AEC tools on just about everything I work with. So let's see, I think, yeah, you can see there, right? All right, and I think that pretty much covers it. Be sure to look at layout curves because I think they are a highly useful tool and often overlooked.